Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Sandbox Sessions. I am Evan Duncan, co-founder of Recess.
I'm Rachel Fisher. I'm all things operations here at Recess.
And I'm Taylor Metzger. I'm also the co-founder of Recess. Today we're here with Bill Moore. He is the owner of Advanced U, but he can introduce himself.
Hey there. So my name is Bill Moore, and I work at I founded a biohacking clinic that's just below Recess Fitness. And so we have some complementary services that we're going to talk about today, but I have a human performance longevity biohacking clinic, and we do things to make you live longer and feel better and look better and perform better and recover better. So I'm looking forward to diving and talking about this with these fitness gurus.
I've known Bill a long time, I think 10 years now, and Bill's done all sorts of things before he started Advanced U, and we will get into that. So I've known Bill for quite a while now. We were introduced at a Christmas party like 10 years ago. Bill's been an entrepreneur I've looked up to for a long time. Tell us your story, Bill. How'd you get here today?
Well, that story's long. I'm not going to try and bore you with all the details, but I started out my career in exercise science. I did a bachelor's degree in exercise science, kinesiology, and then did a master's in exercise physiology. And I worked in cardiac rehab for a few years in a hospital in New Orleans and realized that that was just not the path that I wanted to take, doing rehab with people who didn't really want to be there, especially in New Orleans, where they had a million other things that were unhealthy that they wanted to do besides sitting on a treadmill with me taking their blood pressure within the 12-lead EKG. So I went back to graduate school and did an MBA. And during that MBA program, I went and had a laser hair removal procedure done on the back of my neck, which seemed pretty straightforward. And it was probably the worst experience that I've ever had in a clinical setting. It was with a guy who just didn't know what he was doing, and he really wasn't educated. And I started inquiring about what the regulations were in Texas to be able to operate a laser for hair removal. And eventually I ended up with a laser. That laser became a med spa, turned into 12 treatment rooms, 4 locations, and I had that for 20 years. And during that course of that med spa, I began to do things like hormone replacement therapy at the very beginning, when people were afraid to prescribe hormone replacement therapy because they thought that it was going to cause cancer like immediately. That was what the thought was back in the 2005 to 2010, is if you prescribe testosterone, you're going to give somebody prostate cancer. So there were studies out that said that it was safe. We started doing these testosterone replacement treatments, started doing some stem cell and exosome injections and infusions for longevity. Eventually, I developed a procedure that we're going to talk about, I believe, later on, called PhalloFILL, which is penile girth enhancement for men, male enhancement. So I started doing that during COVID. Whenever we were shut down for COVID, I began to work on that treatment, patented some things that went along with that, started teaching that to other providers, mainly urologists. I've got 30 now that are providing PhalloFILL across the country in Mexico and Canada. And so I decided it was time for me to step away from the med spa industry the way that I knew it, which was cool sculpting and body contouring and facial injections and cellulite reduction and laser procedures and so forth. And I was going to focus on PhalloFILL. And that's when I decided to move over here and be your neighbors. Well, my mother suffers from dementia, and now it's very advanced dementia. And I was starting to look at ways that I selfishly could buy things that would maybe prevent me from having the same onset that my mother had with dementia. And the first thing that I decided to buy was a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. And I was just going to have PhalloFILL with a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. And then I went to an anti-aging conference, and I ran across the company that Da Vinci Medical that promotes and sells the Superhuman Protocol, and I decided, oh my gosh, I've got to add this into my clinic. And then I ran across my ARX Fit. Someone was talking about ARX Fit. I began to look at that. I was like, I got to have that too. And then I was like, well, cryotherapy has got to be a part of all this. And then I ran across the meditation bed. And so it just eventually, it all of a sudden became this biohacking clinic when it was originally just going to be PhalloFILL and a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. So that's kind of how it was born. It was kind of like it's more of a passion of, say, what do you call it?
Passion project.
Passion project, yes, it's a passion project. It's not where I want to make my money. So it's not something that I'm in here. Our prices are pretty inexpensive, and that's going to be passed along to the Recess clientele as well. So I'm not in this for the money making as much as I am to see people feel better, look better, live longer. I make my money and so forth off of training people how to do PhalloFILL and that aspect of my business.
And that was, even is throughout the time we've known each other, I know how passionate you were about even maybe having a gym and offering the services that you do. So it's very cool you're next door to us now. And I know that's one thing we're trying to get together in the process of is offering all these services together. How can we do that? So that's an exciting upcoming thing that I think all the Recess members are going to experience really soon.
Also, when you and I were trying to when we were first looking at our initial locations, we were already talking with Bill about potentially doing something together. Whenever Recess just first came about, and it was just an idea, and we're looking at places together. So it's so funny now that
it happened.
It's true. And I can't remember the owner of Whole Foods' name. He's got a concept that is out on the West Coast now. I think it's called Love Life, and Equinox is doing the same thing, where their memberships are $60,000 for a year. It's $5,000 a month, and if you combine everything Recess and Advanced U does, it's essentially the exact same thing. We're just going to do it for a whole heck of a lot less. Let's take that into biohacking and talk about, what if you could unlock superhuman performance with cutting edge technology, and what biohacking is about.
Well, we can unlock superhuman performance with modalities and technology. So I love the word hacking because we all know what hacking means. We first probably thought about the word hacking when people would hack into our computers. So you manipulate things to be able to make things happen. So with our bodies, we're manipulating the physiology within our bodies, mitochondria, inflammation, oxygen, how our body carries oxygen. But we're using different types of modalities to do this. And so these are things that are an adjunct to your everyday wellness, health, and fitness program that you're already doing. So if you're lifting weights at the gym, that's great. Continue to lift your weights at the gym, but incorporate some biohacking so that you recover faster, so that you don't have delayed onset muscle pain, so that you have better healing of your muscles, because we all know that the way that muscles grow is to create microscopic tears in the muscle fibers, and then they heal and the muscles get bigger and stronger. And so if we can assist and make that better for your clients that are doing your classes here in the what do you call this space here? This is the studio. It's like a playground. I see it as a playground. So your class is in here, and your weight training and your personal training upstairs. So we have ways to make your body have less inflammation, recover faster, and it's using all different types of modalities that I know we're going to talk about today.
Yep.
But that's really what biohacking is we're using things that you cannot get during your regular fitness training, personal training sessions to make you better.
Okay. Let's talk about the science behind the treatments here. The big thing, I know you've been on a lot of other podcasts. The big thing. Yeah, quite literally.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
The big
Perfect. Well, what a great segue. Is what is PhalloFILL, Bill? Can you talk to us about what is PhalloFILL? What are the benefits? What are the misconceptions?
Yeah, so let's talk about what is PhalloFILL first. So PhalloFILL is using hyaluronic acid dermal filler, which is a naturally occurring substance in your body. I tell my patients that we're essentially a pool of hyaluronic acid. It's in our joints, it's in our skin, it's in our organs, it's everywhere. So it's very natural to the body. And we're using hyaluronic acid dermal filler, just like what you have injected into your lips, your cheeks, your nasolabial folds, and we are making your penis thicker. And it is undetectable. The process of the way that PhalloFILL is performed is not like the other girth enhancement procedures that you may have seen where things have gone really poorly in a bad direction as far as leaving a disfigured look or a lumpy look. We have a patented sleeve that we put on after these hyaluronic acid dermal filler injections have been made that's going to keep it smooth and undetectable. It's very safe. We have a safety study that essentially shows that there's no complications that you really have to be concerned with. Nobody's ever been hospitalized. Nobody's ever had to have a surgical intervention after our PhalloFILL procedure. It's done very slowly, incrementally. We gain about 1/4 of an inch in circumference with every procedure. So you're not going to have a procedure and then walk home or go home and then the next day wake up and say, oh my God, what did I do? I overdid it. Because we lay it in very thin layers, because thin layers stay in place better and they don't migrate and they don't lump. So it is using hyaluronic acid dermal filler. Some of the misconceptions that people have about it is, one, that it's going to be really painful, or there's a lot of recovery time, or they may not be able to go to the gym. None of that is true. So I always ask my patients when they get finished every time on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the easiest, 10 being the most pain that you can imagine, where do we fall? Generally a 2 or a 3. I don't think I've ever had a 4. Okay. I've had 1s and 0s, generally a 2 or a 3. So it's not an uncomfortable, painful procedure. I mean, there's a little bit of discomfort, like a little pinch whenever I first start, but that's really it. So it's not going to be uncomfortable. There's no social downtime or we don't tell you that you can't go to the gym because it's not going to affect what we've just done.
But what about sex? I mean, let's say, how long is it before you can have sex again?
10 days.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well.
There's ways to get around that too. Okay. You get to broaden your horizons with your sex game.
Okay.
So yeah. So
and then what about the penis is flaccid and then it's hard? Is it still hard? The fillers don't make it soft.
It's undetectable. So that is different than other procedures.
Okay.
There's these 2 layers of fascia in the penis, and whenever the penis fills with blood, the blood puts pressure on these layers of fascia, and that's what makes it firm, is these layers of fascia. And I tell people to think about these layers of fascia like one of those flexible water hoses that whenever you turn it off, it shrinks down, and then when you turn it on, it gets rigid and it expands. That's exactly how your erections work. Okay. So now think about that fabric being those 2 layers of fascia. So there's 2 layers of it. So we put the dermal filler between those 2 layers, and that's the technique that I developed, and that's what I teach. That's what the urologists don't know how to do when they come to me. And so I teach them how to make a pocket between those 2 layers of fascia, and we put the dermal filler inside there. So when the penis fills with blood, they're still just as rigid as they were before. Now, our competitors don't know how to get between those 2 layers of fascia. Okay. And they put it between the fascia and the skin. And so it's very gelatinous and it's spongy and it doesn't feel natural and it doesn't look natural and it doesn't stay smooth. But when it's behind that layer of fascia, it stays just as smooth as it is now. And one of the great things about it, we don't treat erectile dysfunction, but you guys remember when you're like in high school and you're really horny and you get those like rock hard throbbing erections. Mm-hmm. You probably don't get those as much now.
I woke up with one this morning.
Oh, was it rock hard throbbing?
It wasn't like 17-year-old.
It's not as frequent as it used to be.
Okay.
All right. I'm 40 now. It's not as frequent as it used to be. Well, I hate to admit it, but I just did it here on my podcast. Great.
Well, you need to have PhalloFILL because what's going to happen is we're going to pre-fill your penis with gel, and it's always going to be there. And so the blood doesn't have to do as much work. It doesn't take as much blood to go into the penis to fill those layers of fascia and make them firm because we have pre-filled it with gel. And so our men tell us that they say, oh man, you corrected my erectile dysfunction. We did not change the function of your penis at all. We just pre-filled it with gel, and that's the reason that you now have a solid erection, and it's those nice throbbing erections. It's because the body doesn't have to do as much work.
Okay. So for anyone out there that has a long, skinny penis, this would be great for them.
I just treated a guy yesterday. It was his first treatment. He was almost 8 inches in length, and he was about 4.25 inches in circumference. That is like just a little bit. It's like $50.
Okay.
Like the size of $50 probably.
So like a long hot dog.
Like a pencil.
A really long
like
hot
a
dog.
pencil, yeah.
Okay.
So then,
It's going to change. It's
It will
going to
change his life.
completely change the sensation of his wife. She's had 3 children as well. And so when you've had children, that is one of the main reasons that guys come to us. It's not always that they're insecure about the way that they look when their clothes are off. That's a big reason that people come and have PhalloFILLs or walking around in the locker room and they don't want to take their clothes off if they feel like that they're always retracted, because you don't retract
want a
when
big
you have.
hanger.
You don't retract anymore because gel doesn't retract.
Okay.
Blood retracts, but gel doesn't. So they're going to always be shores. And so there's self-confidence reasons that people come in, but it's also because a lot of times the wives have had 2, 3, maybe 4 vaginal birth deliveries, and they don't touch the walls of the vagina as much as they did before. And so when we give them some girth, it changes the sensation for the man and for the woman or whatever the partner is.
And then you have the big dick energy.
You have big dick energy. And I'll tell you, the big dick energy changes. I mean, it is real. I see guys who come in, they're very quiet when they first start treatments, their heads down, and then by the end, they are different people. And they tell us that they have created new products, or they've got promotions at work, or they all of a sudden, they're dating on a different tier on Tinder all of a sudden because, like I say, it raises your level of who you can date.
Wow.
But because I guess y'all send lots of nude pictures back and forth on Tinder, huh? I don't do that.
I don't do that. I'm not on dating apps. Yeah, it's not my thing. Yeah.
But evidently, whenever you have PhalloFILL, if you're sending nude pictures, it's going to raise the
Tinder rating.
your Tinder rating.
So we can change a lot here between recess and PhalloFILL. I mean, we can change in lives.
You can change the body, you can change the penis. You can put someone in a different tier.
All right.
okay.
Well, we can move on to.
Phil.
I think we're good on PhalloFILL.
Yeah, if they want to look into this, just go to PhalloFILL.com. Can I spell it? Is that all right?
Spell it.
PHALLOFILL.com. And one of the things that I love about whenever you go visit the website for PhalloFILL, it would be very difficult for you guys to pick the phone up and call and ask questions because you don't know if it's going to be a woman, if it's going to be a man, if it's going to be someone who doesn't really understand how to answer the questions when they pick up the phone. It's just not that easy to pick up the phone and ask questions about penile girth enhancement. But we have a texting number, and we have 7 people that are working around the clock that they only answer questions about girth enhancement. Okay. And we're taking about 3,000 new people per month that come through our system across the country. And so we are answering questions constantly. And so people will ask us a couple of questions and then they'll disappear for a week and then they'll pick right back up where they left off. And then sometimes it has taken 18 months to 2 years of questions before someone pulls the trigger and decides to have PhalloFILL. But we're always there, we're always available, and we always know what your last question was and where you left off. We have your history. And so it takes away that being nervous about picking up the phone.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would imagine, there's tons of questions that I have about it, not all that we have the time to go over today, but I'll get with you on those. I'm sure every guy out there probably wants a bigger... whether or not they can admit it is something else.
Yeah.
If they don't, it's so funny. Every time I tell someone what I do, and it's a guy, every single time, I don't need that.
Yeah.
Every single time, and then when they're by themselves, they'll text me, "Hey, can you tell me what about that?" And it's getting to be easier because we're trying to break down those walls. Yep. And we just had a documentary that was filmed on PhalloFILL. It's going to be coming out at the end of the year, and it's going to be a 90-minute film. It's mostly filmed here in the clinic, and it's trying to break those walls down and make people know that it's okay to go talk to your friend about where you got your dick done.
If perhaps one day PhalloFILL is just what breast augmentations are for women.
That's what we're trying.
Maybe.
Because Dolly Parton brought breast augmentation to the forefront in the 70s, and it was not looked upon really well
What did Dolly Parton
in the
say?
beginning.
What's the line?
Honey, it takes a lot of money to look this cheap.
Yes. Yes. So hoping that PhalloFILL is going to be the path that's going to bring guys to be able to talk about this and make it be a little bit more commonplace talk in the gym.
Okay. All right.
Do you at all feel bad about setting the bar a little higher for the rest of the population of us? men that are non-enhanced. You know,
You have my phone number. Send me a text message. I think I've even offered before, haven't I?
I got your number.
I mean, we're
yeah,
really-
you definitely offered.
We're literally leveling the playing field.
I'm content. Yeah.
I mean,
Not anymore.
But you know what he said? Whenever I said
3,000
it, he said, I don't need it. He said, I don't need it.
Well,
look, man, I would take it. I would do it. I would do it. I think my
Why not?
I don't know why not. I think it's
There's no reason
Well,
not to.
there's
We can
3,000
reverse. It's
people in
100%
dating
reversible.
sex. What about jacking off? Can you masturbate?
You gotta wait. You gotta
can't-
wait for 10
okay,
days.
so 10 days.
Yeah.
Maybe it's good.
I do have a
good to
patient who found this little vibrator that goes on the head of your penis because you have a sleeve on, so your penis shaft is covered with the medical grade silicone sleeve. But he says that he uses this little, and I have a link to it, this little vibrating. It looks like an egg, and he says that he can climax with this thing, and it's okay to ejaculate. That's not the problem. It's the movement on the shaft of the penis that we don't want for
Can't
10
do it.
days.
10
So
days.
if you can find a way to.
And that 10-day period is when you wear the sleeve.
You're wearing it for 3 weeks.
Okay,
But,
okay.
but at 10 days, you can take it. And the sleeve is very comfortable. And it's so comfortable that we have people that call us and they ask us about buying more sleeves after they finish their procedure because it makes your penis be extended and it gives you a dick print. So that you can see it in your clothes. And so we actually we just bought Dick Print website wasn't available, so I purchased Dude Print, and I actually trademarked the term Dude Print. And now
for you.
we have these being made thicker, and so we're going to sell them on Amazon and at sex stores
You know
so
what
you
this
can put
is?
them on.
It's
This
a
is what this
push-up
is.
bra
It is a
for
push-up bra.
dudes.
But you know what but exactly. It's what Kim K's doing with her bras, where she makes bras.
Nipple bras.
Have you heard of those?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So we put a ring around it so
Right.
that it shows like the
kinda.
corona, which is the ring around the head of the penis, so that it's going to show in the pant. It looks good. I'll put one on you.
Okay, maybe, I might just do this thing. I might just.
You can at least walk around with the sleeve on with
Just to
your
get an
workout
idea of
clothes,
it. Yeah, see.
just to let people see
I mean,
what
these
you got
pants
going
are
on
thin
between.
enough.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not wearing gray pants afterwards. That's for sure. I'm leaving black pants on. All right.
Not gray sweatpant approved.
Yeah. Unless you really want a VPL, right? All right. Let's get on to some of the other stuff that you do, Bill, there, because it's not just the PhalloFIll, like we were talking about, it's the biohacking. It's everything Advanced You offers. Rachel, you want to ask Bill any of this stuff?
Well, I was just going to say, since it's so much recovery and wellness all in one place, if you were to categorize it into what you would do maybe pre-workout versus like post-workout and as a recovery, how you would kind of separate your services as like, okay, this is going to be your like souped up pre-workout. This is what I would do before, you go and resistance train or run or whatever it is, versus these are the things that I would do to help you recover from your marathon training or, your.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to, before we even talk about those modalities, it just made me think, we have PNOE metabolic testing. Do you know what that is? Everyone in your gym should do the PNOE metabolic test.
And we dabbled with it a little bit. I know Evan and I talked to the company, PNOE, and we never really, and then I know when you mentioned coming here, you were going to do it, and we just kind of left that to you. But no, what is PNOE?
So
testing?
we do a resting and an active metabolic test. And so we do the test first thing in the morning, fasting with no medications, unless there are medications that are non-stimulants. So we don't want you to have any caffeine. We don't want you to have any ADHD medication, things like that. You're going to come in. You're going to lay on the treatment table for 10 minutes, resting with the mask on that's capturing your gases, just like what you wear when you were doing a VO2 max stress test or something like that. We capture all your gases. The gases are analyzed, and they're sent to a cloud where they're analyzed by an exercise physiologist. And then we're going to do a 10-minute graded exercise stress test with the mask on. We're going to get you to max, and we're going to do, it's going to include a VO2 max, but we're looking at your metabolism of the way that you burn carbohydrates, fats, and proteins at rest, and how you burn carbohydrates, fats, and proteins during exercise. And we will be able to see, as your heart rate increases, how efficient your body is at changing the different energy sources so that you go from burning carbohydrates to fat. Because then you'll know where your target heart rate is for you. It's not the same. We always tell people a range,
Right.
but it's not the same. And sometimes people may be a marathon runner, and they want to be able to know what energy is best for them to be able to keep them on track for their entire run. And maybe they've been carrying carbohydrate packs, but maybe they actually need more protein. And so they need to be carrying some protein snacks with them. So we're going to be looking at your energy systems. We also look at things like we can look at how much inflammation that your body has by some of the gases that we collect. We can see how much oxygen is utilized in your brain, is metabolized in your brain by metabolites, which is an indicator of, dementia, things like that. So we get a 12-page report that whenever you get finished with this, it's going to tell you things that your body is lacking in, like mitochondrial activity. We're going to be able to see how your mitochondria is functioning from this test. And then you're going to have a 1-hour consultation with the PhD exercise physiologist that's going to go over all this with you, and they're going to give you suggestions that you might incorporate into your daily workout routine. So that is one of the things that I think is so good and that people should start with and just kind of get a baseline. Then 6 months later, they can retest and they can see how if their fitness goals are doing what they need to be doing for them.
I think some of it even lets you know about like diet. It lets you know diet recommendations too.
So what it does is
there's maybe foods you should eat.
It looks at your metabolism, and so it actually there's an app that comes with it, and so the dietary needs are put into this app, and so it tells you what you need to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it will even give you recipes that go along with exactly what you need.
Okay.
So it is very specific to your metabolism.
Okay.
So it's a really great way to diet. And some people may need to increase their calories. Some people need to decrease their calories, different proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. And it's all spelled out for you. It's very easy to understand.
Okay. Right.
So I think that that's a great way to start is with the metabolic test, but then let's talk about what we would do pre-workout. So I think that the Superhuman Protocol is probably the best thing that we have for your pre-workout. And so that combines 3 different modalities. That is PEMF, pulse electromagnetic frequency. That then combines exercise with oxygen, followed by photobiomodulation, which is most well known as a red light bed, but our bed is not just red light, it's red light with 3 different beams of near infrared light. So the way that this works is the PEMF, pulse electromagnetic frequency, is basically replicating the energy that we get from the earth.
Okay.
When was the last time that you took your shoes off and walked on the ground and absorbed the magnetic energy from the earth?
I like to do it all the time.
You do?
Uh-huh.
Good. It's really good. Most people don't do it. They don't think about it.
No, I haven't. I couldn't tell you.
And you got on rubber sole shoes. You're in a car with rubber tires. You're not touching. You're walking on a sidewalk. You're on the 3rd floor of a building. And you're just...
Every time we're out at the cabin, I'm not barefoot running around shooting guns. And
Yeah, you always are. My shoes are always on.
It's
you're
in the
barefoot.
snow and I'm barefoot. I like being barefoot.
Well, we require energy from the earth. Our bodies are electrical. Do you have a battery in your body that's producing the electrical needs that your body has? We get recharged, and our body functions better when we get these electromagnetic energies from the earth. I sleep on a PEMF mat. Mine is programmed to turn on at 1 a.m., and it turns on at about 7:30 a.m. And I get 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night of PEMF energy. And that does so many things for you. But what we want it to do in the longevity clinic is primarily to make your red blood cells repel each other and become negatively charged. So our blood cells are clumped, not clotted, like you would think about when you're going to have a stroke, but they're clumped. And so the red blood cells in the center, they can't carry the oxygen that they're intended to carry because they're not exposed.
Okay.
So the PEMF in our situation is made to make the red blood cells repel each other. Right. It also lowers the pH balance, makes your body become more alkaline. We know we're always drinking alkaline water. We're trying to avoid acidic foods. So the PEMF is going to make you more alkaline, but it's going to make those red blood cells repel each other for about 12 hours. Then we're going to move you right over to the exercise with oxygen. So we have oxygen concentrators that are creating oxygen into a big tank. And you get on the bike, you have your own mask, and you're going to do 10 minutes of cardiovascular on the bicycle with 3 sprints. And so we are taking the oxygen, the 95% oxygen into your lungs, and the exercise is attaching it to these red blood cells that are now separated, and then we're forcing it through all the systems in your body, and getting it to hypoxic tissue that doesn't always get oxygen very easily. There's lots of parts of our body that doesn't really get great oxygen. This is even forcing more oxygen into your brain. You're going to think better whenever you get finished doing something like this. And then we're going to take you directly into the photobiomodulating bed, where this oxygen is now going to be forced into your mitochondria, and we're going to increase mitochondrial activity, which in turn is going to increase ATP production, which is the energy source that your body uses for exercise. So we're going to give you a lot more ATP readily available for strength training. The bed also reduces inflammation.
Okay.
And so it can make your workouts easier if you don't have quite as much inflammation in your joints and that sort of thing. But those three things work together to be the superhuman protocol. So that's what I would think about first.
So if I wanted to do that, I would only need what, maybe 30 minutes?
Yeah,
It takes about 35 minutes.
Okay.
roughly
And that would
about
be your
35
souped
minutes.
up pre-workout. You just
That would
go
be a
do
souped up
that
natural
three-step process
pre-workout.
and then go crush your workout.
Yeah, and then
And that's because your ATP is that much higher. That's what's referred
That's
to the
what
part
it's-
like
yeah.
because your ATP
And
after
it's
that
a lot of
three-step
oxygen.
process. Yeah,
A lot of
your
oxygen.
ATP's through the roof. You're superhuman at that point. There's no better time to do a workout than post superhuman protocol.
that's right.
Okay. I know for me, there were times where, in terms of formatting, whatever. I get my format workout. Well, I was a Monday through Friday guy or Saturday, or sometimes I get to a Saturday. I'm like, I just don't know what to do. I want to do something. I would come into the clinic, do the superhuman protocol, and then jump on your ARX.
Yeah.
And go through a full body workout on that. What is the ARX? Talk about
man,
that real quick,
ARX
'cause
is
the ARX is pretty cool.
It's pretty
and that,
cool.
and that way, like I had a whole hour workout in minutes. I did the superhuman protocol. That took 35 minutes of my time. Then I did an ARX. That was like 15, 20 minutes. I was done. And it was totally different than anything I did in the gym. And I felt it was great. But I don't want to take. You can explain the ARX.
I'll tell you
a
what
lot
it
better
does.
than I can.
So ARX is adaptive resistance training. And I'm going to tell you the science behind it, then I'm going to tell you why it's so nice. So two things that it does different than just going to the gym and being able to lift with gravity weights or with machines that also work off of gravity. Let's talk about a bicep curl for a moment. And I'm going to use some really easy light weights. Let's say these are 10 pounds.
Yep.
So if I'm going to do a bicep curl, and I can lift 10 pounds in the very beginning, the lower part of my range of motion, maybe I'm stronger in the center of my range of motion and I can maybe lift 20 pounds. Mm-hmm. And then when I get ready to close my range of motion, I can only lift 15. So I've got 10 here, 20 here, 15 here. Mm-hmm. What weight do you have to grab off the weight rack?
You'd have to grab it.
You have to grab the lightest.
The 10. Mm-hmm. You have to grab the 10. So your 20-pound strength in your range of motion is undertrained the entire time that you're doing your workouts. And so you have to do more sets and more reps to be able to fatigue the center part of your range of motion because it's not properly loaded. And there's just nothing that you can do about that when you're using gravity-assisted weights, which is machines or free weights. So the machine uses adaptive resistance technology, and it can read what your strength is, and it changes the strength all the way through your range of motion so you're 100% loaded. So if you're weaker in the beginning, it's going to put less weight on you. As you get stronger in the middle of your range of motion, it's going to increase the weight. And then as you maybe lose some strength, as you're closing out your range of motion, it's going to lower it again. So it's going to keep you properly loaded the entire time. That makes you have to do less reps and less sets. It cuts your workout time down dramatically, and it really gives you an intense workout. So that's one of the first things that I
In a
want to
really
tell you
short
about.
amount of time.
In a short amount of time, because you're doing less reps and less sets.
And it's primarily training your eccentric phase.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say. It's working eccentrically.
Well, I'm just about to talk about that's the second part, the concentric versus the eccentric.
Okay.
So so in the gym we have concentric, which is your positive, and eccentric, which is your negative. And we know that about 80% of our strength and mass comes from eccentric, and roughly 20% comes from your concentric. The concentric burns most of your glucose and depletes your muscles, but you actually get your gains from the eccentric. So I'm going to use 100 pounds on a chest press. If I can press 100 pounds, I can probably lower 150 pounds. But that would mean that I have to be able to raise what I'm going to lower, and obviously I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I would have to have 2 people spotting me at all times on every single set and every single rep to be able to lower more weight than I'm able to lift. And then you have the risk of having a tear, and the people that are holding the weight don't catch it. It's a little risky to do it that way. Plus, it's just not going to happen. It's impractical to think that you're going to have 2 people follow you around all the time to help lift this weight on every one of your sets and let you lower it. So this allows you to do your maximum weight on your concentric or your positive, and then it's going to increase the weight on your negative or your eccentric dramatically. When I first started doing ARX, I was consistently bench pressing with 245 pound plates. That's 225. I lifted 220. That's what the screen tells you how many pounds that you're lifting. During my first time to use ARX, and I was able to lower 280 is what I was able to lower. I lifted 220 and I was able to lower 280. Now, after a year and a half of training on ARX, I'm pressing 320 and I'm lowering just below 500. Yeah. Do you think I would ever put 500 pounds? I don't care if you are all spotting me. Yeah. I'm not going to put 500 pounds above my head and try and lower it down. So I'm never going to be able to get that workout with that eccentric weight any other way than using adaptive resistance training that can recognize when you stop pressing and you begin to have an injury, it stops. So it's not impossible to have an injury, but it's very unlikely to have an injury if you listen to your body, because it's just got so many protective mechanisms in. So it focuses on eccentric, and it has the adaptive strength training. So what I think is important to realize is that everyone that's watching this and everyone that comes to the gym, they're not like us or like you. Some people don't enjoy going to the gym. It's not their thing.
Right.
They don't want to go spend an hour and a half in the gym. They just don't want to do it. And that's a roadblock for a lot of people. They don't have time. They've got children, whatever the case may be. Some people just don't like doing it.
Sure.
And some people don't know how to do it, and they're embarrassed to ask, or they can't afford a personal trainer. And so they go into a gym and it's overwhelming, and then they just stop coming. But this makes it so easy for someone who doesn't know how to work out and someone who doesn't have enough time. And so maybe you have a rough week at work, and you're used to doing 3 or 4 times a week, an hour and a half a day in recess, but you have a week where you've got something happening, a project due, and you just can't do it, but you still want to be able to exercise. 12 minutes on my machine gives you 9.5 minutes of time under tension. The studies show that in a regular 60-minute workout, most people get 9 minutes of time under tension, which is where you're actually lifting weights, because you've got to change the weight. You've got to move from machine to machine. You've got to wait for whatever, get a text message, whatever happens. So we give you more time under tension in 12 minutes, properly loaded, than what you're getting in a full workout.
I can attest to it. I mean, I know after doing it, and I'm surprised just after forcing against that eccentric plane and giving it all I got on the concentric phase. I'm out of breath, I'm dripping sweat, and I'm sitting on a machine. It's nuts.
But you're gassed.
Gassed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a really impressive workout, and I think even from a guy that likes to work out all the time and do weights, and sometimes you just get sick of it and you want something different. It's a brilliant thing you're doing there next door. I love it, and it's the other thing I'd like to talk to you about is the hyperbaric chamber. The hyperbaric chamber there you have, in comparison to other hyperbaric chambers that are, I think, in the Metroplex or even the state, blows them out of the water, and that has a lot to do with, I think, some of the atmospheric pressure. Can you talk about
ATA,
that?
atmosphere absolute is what it stands for, ATA pressure. So most of the tanks that I have found in Dallas, unless you're in a hospital setting where they're using it for burn victims, are about 1.3 ATA. That was the atmosphere pressure. That is approximately, I think, 15 feet below sea level. Okay. I think that's what that is equivalent to. Our tank goes to 2.0 ATA in 5 different increments, so you can work your way up to 2.0, We don't start you at 2.0. You start at 1.3 and we work you there. And it's a hard shell chamber. It's very large, so people who have claustrophobia are not going to feel claustrophobic in it. It's got a big window. We have a TV right outside of it. We turn the closed caption on. You can take your cell phone in there with you, and it fits 2 people, so you can bring a spouse with you or a friend, and it's air conditioned. Yep. And so the nice thing about HBOT, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, is that it pretty much treats everything that you can think of. Like if you can put in hair restoration HBOT, and you're going to find studies that show that HBOT increases the oxygen to the follicles and makes the hair grow. You can put in HBOT stroke recovery, and you're going to find studies that are published that show that patients who got in HBOT, even 6 months post-stroke, have benefit from and recovery from their stroke.
Yeah, I've even heard women that, IVF is becoming such a big thing right now. It's very expensive.
Can I tell you?
Yeah.
I have a patient, and she just gave birth in December. December the 3rd was when our baby was born. She had been trying IVF for 4 years. I think she had been implanted 3 times, and had not been successful.
So 3 times.
3 times.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
For people that don't know how much that's a lot of money.
She was very discouraged and very upset. She was turning 40.
Yeah.
And so she contacted us, and I told her, I said, I think that you should try HBOT. And so she said, okay, well, I'm at my wit's end. I'll try whatever. And so she came in and she did 10 sessions with us with HBOT. She called me. She got pregnant naturally without IVF.
Incredible.
And gave birth to her baby in December.
Right.
And so the studies show that it increases your fertility because it makes the uterine wall healthier. It makes the embryo be able to attach better. But when it comes to fitness, it increases mitochondrial density, so it's going to make you have more mitochondria in your cells to create more ATP. It reduces inflammation. It pushes oxygen to all of your muscles in a way that you just cannot do any other way. Even with exercise with oxygen, it doesn't get as much oxygen to your tissues as it does under pressure. Good. And the other thing that I think is really important is that it increases the telomere length. And do you all know what telomeres are? Telomeres, yeah. Which are the little end caps of your DNA that determine how many times your cells can continue to replicate, which basically is whatever they can no longer replicate is when death begins to occur. And so if we can keep the telomeres lengthened, that means that the cells can continue to divide healthy and replicate, and the DNA stays healthy, and the body stays healthier for much longer. And so there's 2 published studies that show that we increase telomere length by greater than 30% after a series of hyperbaric oxygen therapy. And the only other thing that had ever been published that showed telomere length was like 2 to 3% from using different types of supplements and exercise combined. Wow. So dramatically can increase longevity using a hyperbaric chamber. So that is great for post exercise. We also have cryotherapy that's available. I know that you guys have a cold plunge, and people sometimes have a preference for a cold plunge. Sometimes they have a preference for cryotherapy because they don't want to get their hair wet. They don't want to get wet sometimes. So both are available here on location, your cold plunge or cryotherapy. And so that is going to cause you to have a reduction in pain because of the vasoconstriction. And then that happens whenever you're inside the chamber for the 3 minutes that you're at negative 220 degrees Fahrenheit. And then when you step out, blood rushes back into your muscles. It brings fresh oxygen. It brings the blood back, which will increase your recovery, decrease delayed muscle onset soreness. In general, it's going to allow you to recover faster and be able to exercise harder and more frequently whenever you can combine some cold therapy, whether it be cold plunge or cryotherapy, into your workouts. Another thing that people don't think about is recovery and relaxation. That's a huge part of wellness, and it's a huge part of allowing your muscles to grow and repair. And if you overwork your muscles and you don't allow time for the nutrition to repair your muscles, they're never going to grow. They're never going to get stronger. And I personally think that people a lot of times overtrain when they do chest one day and back and bis the next day and legs another day, because if you just worked out your chest and you tries really hard, they need rest, relaxation, and nutrition to be able to to repair and to grow.
I feel like
But
we're
then-
hearing more about that all the time
It is.
lately, like keeping your body in this like parasympathetic state, and people are so much more aware of like their cortisol levels, whether or not you're like a competitor or you're stuck in a plateau, is trying to keep your stress and your inflammation down and keep your body in that parasympathetic state.
That's exactly right. And so that's what a lot of our modalities do. The one that I'm about to tell you about is called the Aleve Vibro Lounger, and it's a meditation bed. It's a 30-minute session. We have about 250 soundtracks that you can choose from, and each soundtrack tells you the ohms, that is the wavelength of the music. And there's 4 transducers built into the bed that create vibration, and those 4 different transducers are going to match the vibration of the sound. And so it feels like you are fully immersed in the sound, and the body, the muscles, the brain responds to those vibrations and to that sound. And so we have some tracks that are made specifically for muscle recovery. We have some that are made for anxiety, some that are made for depression, some that are made for memory loss. And so you can go through, you can choose what type of track sequence that you want to be on, and then you're in a soundproof room with some LED lights and with this immersive sound with a mask on for 30 minutes, and it's really, really good for helping you recover.
I've done it.
So,
Love it.
so
I need to try it. It's one of the
too.
things I haven't tried down there yet.
Yeah.
the other thing that I really love is that how many times do you do a workout and you don't get your abs in? And we just forget about them.
Yeah, I mean, more
I
often
hate
lately,
core
really,
work.
than I'd like to admit. I'm not doing it as much as I should lately.
So we have muscle sculpting, which is magnetic muscle sculpting. Whenever you go to the gym or do any type of exercise, your brain sends a signal to your muscle group and tells your muscle fibers to contract. Their muscle fibers are either on or they're off. And not all of your muscle fibers can be recruited at one time. The better trained athletes can recruit more muscle fibers. The least trained athletes are going to recruit less. But the numbers that they can recruit are between 45 to 55% of your muscle fibers in a muscle group for a well-trained athlete. So when you're going to do a crunch, brain sends a signal to your abdominal muscles and tells about 45 to 55% of those muscle fibers to close and then relax. And that's what causes you to do your crunch. So we use a device that uses magnetic energy. It opens and closes the muscle fibers exactly like the brain does, but it does 95 to 100% per contraction. And it's so fast that it can do 20,000 full muscle contractions in 30 minutes.
Wow.
And we have applicators for the abdomen, for the flanks, for the buttocks, for the quads, for the hamstrings, and for the calves. And we can treat 2 areas at one time. So sometimes people will come in and they'll do their buttocks and their abs at the same time. And so we're giving each one of those 20,000 contractions. When you think about 20,000 contractions, that is equivalent to doing 300 contractions 3 times a week for 6 months. All of that is done in 30 minutes.
And I've used them on my calves.
You have, yeah.
I mean, there have been times where like I'll train my calves so hard, it's a struggle spot for me, and I'll go in there and use those things. And I mean, it is like the first time I ever trained calves. I'm so sore after just letting those paddles just zap my calves for 20
While you're
minutes.
texting.
While I'm texting, hanging out, checking emails, still working.
Yeah.
That's another super cool device that I can't say enough good things about. Really, really enjoy that.
Bill, it was really exciting to hear you talk about all the offerings that you have. I knew a little bit about all the things. I've tried maybe half of the things, but you're obviously so incredibly knowledgeable about all the things you have. It was amazing to learn everything that I did today. I'm excited to kind of spend more time in the office. It sounds like between Recess and Advanced U, we offer just about everything you could possibly need to be the best version of yourself in every way possible, so it's incredible the synergy that we have.
Yep.
I'm so excited that you were here. I can't wait for the future because it sounds like we're gonna have a lot easier way for us all to.
Yeah, hopefully by the time you guys are actually hearing this podcast or watching it, we'll have kind of our services combined, and you'll have an easy way to book all of the things in one place, one parking spot, one trip up to Recess. All the things you need, nothing you don't.
Just open another door.
I have I want to make a little preview to what's happening with Advanced U probably in the next 90 days. I'm purchasing a dry cold plunge, which is going to be so amazing because people that love cold plunge, but they don't really want to get wet.
Well, great. They can use less towels.
Yeah, you could use less towels. No towels needed. Yeah. So it's a dry cold plunge.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
it looks like a coffin.
Okay.
But it's full of cold water, 39 degrees.
Okay.
How cold does your cold plunge go?
We get it. It varies. I mean, we've had it at 39, we've 45. It just depends on its use.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this one is going to be kept at 39 degrees. It has a membrane, sort of like what you can imagine the old water beds from the 80s, but the membrane is large. And so when you lay down on this and we push a button and it lowers you in to the water, so you're floating, but there's a membrane around you, we cover you, and then water fills up in the membrane, and so you are surrounded by 39-degree water. Your head is sticking out.
Cool.
And it's a great experience. And you get out and you're dry.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get a dry float tank, which is going to be warm. It's going to be 95 degrees, and it's for sensory deprivation
Can't wait to
and
do
for
that.
floating. And so it's really hard to find a float tank, especially like in this part of Dallas. I can't find one. And it's really not easy to have a dry float tank inside of a business. You have to do a lot of special construction for it. So it's exciting to be able to have a dry float tank. And so it's also the same. You're going to get onto the tank, lower you in. You're going to be floating in a membrane. But I just experienced it last week, and you can get in with your swimsuit or even with your clothes on.
It's incredible. There will be no one, and I really feel passionate about saying this. You got the Love Life concept. You got the Equinox concept that offers all this stuff. They want to charge you $60,000 a year. There will be no one that offers everything that we offer for the price that we offer it.
That's right.
Period.
So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to working with you guys.
Oh, cool. Same, Bill.
Bill, thanks so much for being on today. How do people get a hold of you? Where do we go to follow you?
So our website is advanced, ADVANCED -UYOU.com. You can go there and you can get into our lead nurturing system. We have an app that you can download. It will allow you to look at our schedule and that sort of thing. You can also send us a text directly at 214-949-4195. We'll respond back to that text message. It may be easier than picking up the phone and calling us. And so, yeah, we're there. We're ready for you. We're operating now just without our dry cold plunge and without our float tank.
Awesome.
So come see us.
Bill,
thank you for having me.
Yeah,
you.
thanks, Bill.
We're going to move on to probably one of our favorite sections of each podcast that we do here today. And this is a true look into some of the stuff that Rachel deals with every day. Let's start with one of our negative reviews.
All right, so I am all things operations here at Recess, but I really like to describe it more as damage control and risk management, because responding to these exact comments is what I spend a lot of my time doing every single day. You know, sometimes you just have to take a lap out around the gym, before you sit down and retype.
At the end of the day, people want to be hurt.
It's true. All right, but this was a pretty good one from like last week. All right, here we go. The male locker room is actually Bush League. $50 fine for not re-racking weights, but y'all can't figure out a way to drain the water from the showers. Puddles of dirty water every time I walk in there is so disgusting. The ice bath is nice enough when it works. And put the self-locking mechanism on every locker. I'm not in junior high. I don't want to bring a lock to the gym. Love it otherwise.
Okay, look.
Love it.
There's
There's a lot going on.
The word criticism is prefaced by constructive usually, because criticisms are generally all negative, like they were. In that case, I would tend to agree with the puddles in the locker rooms, and we are going to fix that. That is being fixed. It's been very annoying to get out of the shower and have the puddles, so that was very helpful from that review. But everything else on that review was just terrible. I don't think he's a member here any longer.
Bye. Hey, okay.
Let's move on to something positive, though. Let's end on a nice, high positive
It's
note.
hard to even. It's hard to even.
I will say what was funny about that review is that we like all had to Urban Dictionary what Bush League,
Bush League
actually
locker rooms.
meant.
That's just really offensive.
So, I mean,
to me.
Or,
We are learning.
I don't
you know.
get offended. Don't talk about our locker rooms because they're freaking awesome.
okay, and then we got a positive one. It goes, Absolutely love it at recess. It's taken my motivation to another level. The gym has great equipment, the staff is friendly, and the locker room facilities are clean and well appointed. The price for what you get is absolutely unbeatable. I used to think it was $40 for LA Fitness or $260 for a lifetime, and there was no in-between option. Recess is that Goldilocks option. 100% Recess is everything you want, need, nothing you don't. I like that. It's a serious gym for serious lifters with a true focus on etiquette. Racking your weights is not optional. Cleaning up after yourself is not optional. Exactly how it should be.
That's a great review.
That is a great review. You get it, Eric.
That guy
Stack.
really does get it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Shouts out.
Shouts out. So the next time you decide to write a negative review or be mean, just know that this is the face that you're sending it to, and she's sweet, and she has to deal with idiots like you all day long. So take
nice.
it easy. Be nice.
Use constructive
Yeah,
criticism.
we're all about
improvement.
constructive
Always.
criticism and improvements. Always. Don't be an ass. And if you are, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us for another podcast here with Sandbox Sessions. Please follow us on Instagram. You can also follow our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. And we'll see you in the next one.
See ya.
Yeah.
Stop.
Cool.
Oh man, we're getting better and better.